Gone Fishing with Bob and TJ is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Daiwa Rods and Reels, committed to total quality. Humminbird Wide, fish wide open. And Raider Fiberglass Truck Tops, today's value leader.
Okay, go. Oh, the lake sure looks nice today. Just gorgeous. The weather's been incredible. Hot and sunny.
Had a great trip.
Not even any rain. They say it rains up here quite often, but we sure haven't seen that. Okay, go. Hi, welcome to Gone Fishing. I'm TJ Schwenke.
And I'm Bob Kirkpatrick. Today we're in the parkland region of Manitoba in the Duck Mountains, and we're going to be fishing at Glad Lake. Now, Glad Lake has got a variety of different trout species in it. There's Arctic char, rainbow trout, splake, brook trout, and there's even a few big pike. But we've got a tip where we might be able to catch some Arctic char.
Now, the lakes in the Duck Mountains are some of the most intensely managed and heavily stocked in the province, and that's been through cooperation with groups like the Swan Valley Sport Fishery Enhancement Group and the Department of Natural Resources. They work hand in hand, and the fishing up here is absolutely incredible. Let's get out there and see if we can get some of those big Arctic char. Bring it back, Bill! Where did the guy say they were biting?
Down around the corner is a big grass point, and he said they're catching them in about 35 feet of water.
Yeah, we'll try some three-way rigs and try trolling that area. That might really work good.
Sounds like a good idea.
I'd like to get some char. It's been a long time since I've caught any.
I've never caught one, so this will be a first.
Hopefully this will be your first opportunity. People, haven't we?
Sure, nice relaxing way to fish. There's one right here.
Oh, you got one?
We're on Glad Lake, right near Wellman Lake, and this lake is co-managed by the Department of Natural Resources and the Swan Valley Enhancement Group. And I guess there's a real variety of different trout in here.
Oh, several kinds of trout. There's Arctic char, some big pike. It's just an incredible amount of fish, basically. And
lots of rainbows, I guess.
Yeah, and really heavily stocked, so it was a great place to bring kids and something like that, because you can always come here and catch fish.
This one's going to drift underneath the boat.
Is he? I'll spin us around here a little.
All right. Here he comes. Now, we're talking to some of the locals, and they said the gang trolls were probably what gets used more than anything here, and I didn't have one, so I just tied up a couple of blades. Oh, nice little
rainbow. Yeah.
Slashed out of that worm, you got it in the side. Whoa, guy. But I just tied up a couple of hammered silver spinner blades, and about an 18-inch lead and a night crawler, and seemed to work pretty good.
The great thing about this is like there's so many fish in here, and if you want to come for an afternoon or a morning or whatever, you can come out here and just plan on catching a bunch of fish, and one of those places you should bring the family.
Well, lots of little fish like that, but I guess there's some big master angler brown trout in here, rainbows, and some huge pike.
See if we can get some.
These have been getting bite after bite here, TJ. They're just wrapping at that worm. I know I've lost a bunch of worms here, but...
Okay.
Oh, I think he got off again. No, he's still there.
Is he? It's amazing, like they've really been hitting.
Oh boy, just using night crawlers for bait, and just one after the other, and every time I pull it up, half the worm's gone. I was just ready to switch techniques and try something else, but this one hit.
We were talking to John Haydick from Winnipeg, and he was telling us him and his daughter were out here and caught a whole bunch of Arctic char, and I guess a couple master anglers and like some really nice fish. So he told us, you know, where they were fishing, and so we've gone to three-way rigs and got our rigs down a little bit deeper.
Fishing in about 30 feet of water now, over 40 or 50 feet. And you watch the screen on the depth finder, there's all kinds of fish scattered right from the bottom right to the surface. So it's kind of hard to target any certain ones, but
That looks like a
30
fish.
feet seems to be the ticket.
Ooh, nice one. So here's your first Arctic char, Bob.
These, they look a lot like a lake trout, don't they?
Yeah, they got a few more spots on them, and whoa!
Just as slippery. You got
I dropped him.
There
Sorry
goes my
about
first Arctic char.
that. We were gonna let him
Well,
go anyways.
I'll have a better look at another one later. He's got the end hook too. I had two hooks tied on here, just a worm harness, the same as I'd use for walleye fishing. We got a little bit lighter line on, and a couple of silver blades, and a three-way rig. I got about a 3-foot dropper on it. It's kind of, ounce and a quarter weight just to get it down to that 30 feet. It's kind of hard without a depth finder or something to stay at a certain level, but what we've been doing is dropping our line down, starting out in 30 feet of water, and dropping our line down till the weight hits the bottom, and then just moving out a little bit deeper, and you kind of get an idea there of how much line you want to have out. Put a little mark on the line or tie a bobber stop on so you can get back down to that depth every time. Once you've established the depth, it's quite easy to keep fishing at that depth.
Well, that's the thing. We're not fishing on the bottom. We're 12 to 20 feet above the bottom. So I just took and put a little piece of electrical tape on mine once I figured out where that 30-foot depth was, and just a matter of letting line out till I get to there. Now, real key though is staying at the same depth, is staying at the same speed.
Well, I got to retie.
Me too.
Another one, TJ.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like a better one.
Again, as soon as we come around that point and dropped off the edge into 35, 40 feet of water, he feels just like the last one. I think you may have to change to what I'm using. I'm getting lots of hits on it.
Sure seems to be working good. This lake's so clear, I don't think it really matters that you're exactly on the level of the fish. As long as you're probably within 10 feet. I mean, they'll rise up quite a ways to hit a bait.
And by the looks of the depth finder, they're scattered right from the top to the bottom too.
Well, that's the other thing.
What we got here?
Ooh, beautiful rainbow. See a nice rainbow trout, really prettily colored.
Lots of colors in
Look at
this
the
one.
stripe on that one. Now we were told there's a lot of fish this size in here, and those make really nice. That's a nice eating size fish right there. If we were going to take one home to eat.
It is a nice size fish.
It's funny, they're just kind of tapping, and it takes a while to hook them, doesn't it?
Sure does. I did one thing different. I was missing so many. What I did, I've got a little 2-hook harness here, but I switched one of the plain hooks for a little barbless treble hook. Just hook one of those two in the worm, and you got 2 more hooks to get them. That's a nice little trout. Get this one back. Whew. Sure bright and colorful, isn't it? Hold him for a second here. There he comes. Here he goes. Here he comes. Hey, trained this one.
I didn't get that!
That was in my dugout. That's one of the ones I caught last week.
How do you do that?
Now, when you've had a fishing show this long, you work with good animals.
That's a TV fish. Hey.
Now, he'll come back, don't worry. Here he comes. Nice trout. Oh! I'm with Department of Natural Resources Fisheries Technician Ken Kansas. Ken, Glad Lake up in the Duck Mountains has got several opportunities for fishing different species of trout. Can you give me a little history on the lake?
Yeah, we've got stocking records of Glad Lake back to 1943, 1944. And over that period of time, there was 6 different species of trout stocked in that lake at various levels of intensity and numbers and so forth. But to date, the 3 main species of real concern to the anglers are rainbow trout, lake trout, and the Arctic char.
Now, I heard there's a few big pike in there. Is that their only natural predators in the lake?
Yeah. Glad Lake is typical of some Duck Mountain lakes where it's a little bit deeper than most of them. There are some deep lakes, like it's just about 200, 220 feet deep in some portions of that lake. But it is connected to a series of drains in a certain watershed, and there's pike movement in between these two zones, especially in the spring when the water is high. There was a pike removal program probably about 10 years ago done with gill nets, but it's not the best way to do things in this day and age in terms of killing fish and stuff like that. So what we're basically looking at, maybe if we want to get some more pike removal for that lake, is live trapping them, or maybe having an angling tournament specifically for moving fish, so there's no mortality or anything like that. But these big pike are basically the only predator for these fish, and a lot of times we'll stalk in through the ice to get the fish out, especially when they're young and right out of the hatchery, because they're pretty susceptible to prey. If we stalk them in tight, maybe where the big pike will be, there'll be a higher mortality rate on those fish. But there is some monster pike in there, master angler pike.
Well, back to the trout species now. There's also some master angler trout in there.
Right now you can get master angler Arctic char, master angler lake trout. They're a little tough. Master angler rainbows. There also is splake in that lake, but people don't catch them as readily as the Arctic char. And the Arctic char is a real unique species. It's not often south of the 55th parallel that you'll actually see Arctic char in Manitoba, in any province for that matter. And right now they're coming out as masters, stocked over the few years, and people are having a lot of fun with them.
Boy, it's incredible the bait that must be in here. We keep marking that bait cloud, and we've been back over and forth it a couple times, and every time we go over we get a bite, but I finally hooked this one. You can see a lot of bigger fish relating to that bait on the sonar as well.
Yeah, the bait seemed to be stacked from about 15 to 25 feet, and then underneath it there were some big hooks.
Yeah.
You gonna need the net for this one?
I don't think it's that big, but it feels like a decent fish. Should be here right away. You couldn't fish these without sonar, there's no way. I mean, we just kept going back over and over that bait looking for it, and every time we went over it we caught a fish. Another char?
Another char.
There we go. It's funny how some of them are so colorful and some are so silver.
Well, you added that treble hook to the back, and that seemed to make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
That's what you got them by.
Yeah, we had to add that or you just didn't catch them there. I don't know, they just seem to be pecking at it. It almost feels like a perch biting. And what I did that time is I just kind of dropped back to him a little bit and set the hook. It's so neat being able to catch Arctic char. I can't believe it. I've heard so much about this and just had to get up here to try it. Oh, I'm gonna get him back. You know, there's so many species of fish you can catch, and like with the Arctic char here in Glad Lake, you know, most people never have the opportunity to fish for Arctic char because they do live in the high Arctic, as their name.
Well, I've never had a chance. Nope. I never had a chance to fish them before. I don't know what I got on here. This one feels like it might be a little bigger fish, TJ. Oh yeah,
You're
definitely.
Yeah, you know, I've had a chance to fish Arctic char up in Cambridge Bay and Coppermine and places like this, but it's really unique, and I think it's great that people have the opportunity, and it's a real initiative between the natural resources and the Swan Valley group up here that this has all happened. Let's see another rainbow.
This one put up a little more scrap. Not quite as.
One.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Lots of color. Again, got him on that treble hook.
It's a good point though when you're getting bit short a lot. You know, is to go with a stinger hook like that is what we call it, is a second hook.
Well, even with that, oh, I've missed a few and I just missed another one there.
But you know, that is a point when you're getting those short bites, and we were talking to some people in the camp yesterday who said they were losing a lot of tails of worms and getting a lot of bites and getting half a worm back, but they were only using single hooks, and rather than just putting a second hook on, they just kind of missed fish all day long, and I don't think they really caught a lot from what we heard.
No, another thing that I've seen a lot of people do is use a triple worm harness with big hooks. And a lot of times that back hook, if it's a real small hook, trout doesn't have that big of a mouth and doesn't take a very big hook to hook them. And a small hook will work really good.
Well, and also I think it's important that that worm has a lot of action, and when that worm's going through the water, it's really undulating, and I think that's important too. That's part of the action that really triggers them. Those blades flashing in front of it are what attracts them to it, but it's actually the worm they key in on once they get there, and that's what they're biting, is the worm.
I've got to do a little untangling here, and I'm going to get right back at it. Feels like a little better one, TJ. He sure hit hard. This one didn't pick at the worm like the last one did. Just smacked it. We're down pretty deep, almost 40 feet deep.
It's
Right off that point.
Right off the end of the point is where they seem to be hanging. There it is. Another rainbow.
Another rainbow.
It's that one.
Yeah, he hit hard. All the other ones just been tapping that worm, and finally taking it. This one just smacked it. Or he just spit out the worm.
Yeah.
Now.
I think a lot of people have trouble catching summertime trout in general, just because they are deeper. And I mean, it's obviously doesn't require any specialized gear. Just a heavy weight and a couple spinner blades and you can catch them.
Pretty simple.
You know, downriggers and things like that would also work well here. There's no doubt about it, but you certainly don't need them.
Now this is the first fish that I've got that went on the front hook. All the rest have been on the treble. So this guy...
But when he bit, there was no tapping at all. It was just
no,
weight
he was there.
Yeah, he hit hard.
He's got it stuck in that tough part of his mouth. There it is. Another nice little trout. Ooh. And he's gone.
There he goes.
And we just passed through a big cloud of bait fish. Saw them on the locator here, and a couple seconds later I had a good hit.
Just a huge cloud. The thing we're doing a little different here is we're trolling with our electric motor. And we're being a lot more quiet so we don't have to troll as much line behind. If you're trolling with a gas motor, it's a good idea to, you know, troll further behind because it'll definitely spook the fish a lot more.
This guy's pretty scrappy.
Yeah. So the neat thing about these bow mounts, though, you can put them on any boat and they'll make a fishing rig out of it in a hurry. You got so much control off the front end of your boat.
TJ, this is the biggest fish we've had on yet. Or else it's hooked funny.
Well, with that cloud of bait fish there, I mean, it made sense.
I think once we get in, we're going to have to turn around and go over that again.
Yeah.
It blacked out the flasher. It lost contact with the bottom completely.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice
there it is.
Char.
Yes.
I might even get the net for you for this one.
These fish roll around a lot.
Yeah. That looks like a master angler's fish there, I would think. Manitoba has what's called a master angler program, and it's kind of to recognize big fish that are caught in the province, and you just have to measure them. You don't have to weigh them or anything else like that.
This is going to be a little more difficult.
Oh,
That's a rainbow.
That is a rainbow too.
With a little more
No, that's a
difficult
char.
to net it with the...
It's a char. Nice char. Beautiful.
Boy, is that ever nice.
He'll be pretty close to master angler.
What is the length on the master angler?
It's 20 inches. So I think he's going to make it easy.
Well, I'm going to get the measure board out and we'll find out.
So the neat thing about the master angler program is, you know, you can read through the books and see where the better fish are caught, and you know, it allows people to show off some of the trophies they've caught. And this is a beautiful trophy here. Wow. Let's take a quick measurement of him, Bob.
Is that ever nice?
Get him back in the water.
Okay. Almost 21 inches.
21 inches, beautiful fish. It's the furthest south you'll catch one of those anywhere.
That's great. Now, it may have appeared that the equipment we're using today was a little heavy for the trout we were catching. I've got a 6-foot bait caster here spooled with about 10-pound line. And the reason for that is the terminal tackle we're using on the other end. Now, the most popular area lures that we're using are gang trolls like this. Well, we've changed that a little bit and made up something of our own. What I have here is a 3-way rig. By a 3-way rig, I mean a 3-way swivel here, and we made up our own little type of gang trolls. A couple of silver spinner blades and a bunch of beads. We've added a swivel at both ends, and onto this we've attached a leader. Now the reason that we've added the swivel here and put the leader on is we can change the length of the leader, and sometimes that makes a difference. One other little trick that we did, adding the single hook here to hook the worm on, and on the back hook we put a small treble. A lot of these fish were hitting real short, and once we switched to the treble hook, we got a lot more hookups. Now, as I mentioned, the reason for the heavy gear is quite often we're using heavy bell sinkers on the dropper line of our 3-way rigs. This one here is about 1.5 ounces, but depending on the depth, you could get down to 3 or 4 ounces of weight to get down to 40 or 50 feet. So you need a little heavier gear to catch these fish. Now TJ is going to show you how to fish a rig like this.
There's no real trick to fishing a 3-way rig, but there's a couple tips that'll help you do it a little more effectively. Now, if the fish are right tight to the bottom, it's pretty easy to do. You just want to keep letting out line and establish your trolling speed first. And just get the speed you want to go, then let out line till that weight hits the bottom, and just keep letting it back until you can maintain bottom contact. Now, you don't want that weight right on the bottom, you just want it right above When you let your rod tip back, you should be able to feel it hit the bottom. You want that weight just off the bottom. Now the reason for that is if that weight's dragging right along the bottom, you're going to get snagged up, and that's the whole idea of using the three-way rig, is so you don't get snagged. You just want that weight running a few inches above the bottom. Now if the fish happen to be suspended quite a ways off the bottom, you have to establish how to get your weight down to that depth and keep it there accurately. Now the easiest way is to look on your sonar, figure out what depth the fish are at. So say we see fish at 35 feet to over 50 feet of water. Now we've got to get our rig up about 15 feet from the bottom. Now the easiest way to do that, go into 35 feet, establish your trolling speed, get that rig so it's just bumping the bottom, and then move out into 50 feet and troll. You're going to be right on 35 feet. So what I did is just put a little piece of electrical tape on my line, and that allowed me just to get back to that depth without having to go repeat that whole process. Three-way rigs are great anytime you have to fish deep and you don't have downriggers or divers with you. They're a really economical way to do it, and they're really effective.
And just the good fishing that's here.
Oh, no kidding. There's some gorgeous beaches up here and some of the nicest campgrounds I've seen, and they take a lot of pride in that up here. Also, I know there's a lake just down the road here called 2 Mile Lake where they actually have wheelchair access for people to go fishing. It's really neat.
Well, on the drive up here we passed several campgrounds. There's tents and trailers, and there's some lakes that you can just canoe in and all kinds of things.
Well, it's a really pretty place too. Another char.
Another little char.
Boy, that's a long skinny one, isn't it? I think just the diversity of the fishing here is what really attracts the people. And I think that's first and foremost up here is the fishing, but there's sure no reason you couldn't bring the whole family up here and enjoy a lot of things.
You did. You have those pliers. This guy took that little treble hook you gave.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, I don't know of any other place you'd catch so many Arctic char that you could drive to.
No, that's for sure. There it goes.
He was anxious to get back down to the bottom, wasn't he?
Gone right now.
These fish are coming up from 30, 35 feet, so we're just taking our time reeling them up, and they've got a fairly efficient air bladder, so it's not as detrimental as a lot of fish to bring them up from those depths, so they release quite well. It's just, take your time, don't drag them up out of that deep water really quick, and away they go, and hopefully someone else can catch them. It looks like there's a few rain clouds coming in. It sure has cooled off.
Yeah, it's getting late, but we sure had a great day out here too, TJ. Got a master angler Arctic char, several smaller ones, and some nice rainbow trout.
Oh, it's been great. The thing about a shoot like this, it just doesn't happen overnight. We've had a lot of help from a lot of really good people, and we'd like to thank people like Bill Griffin, Mark Vesby, and Ken Kansas. They've been really great. They helped set up this whole shoot for us and helped get us on some great fishing.
That's right. Join us next time on Gone Fishing.
Cast and crew of Gone Fishing with Bob and TJ stayed at the Wellman Lake Lodge. Gone Fishing with Bob and TJ is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Daiwa Rods and Reels, committed to total quality. Humminbird Wide, fish wide open. And Raider Fiberglass Truck Tops, today's value leader.